Hey, good morning, everyone. Welcome to FPC Radio Live. We're here right on time, 9:20. Because today is 9:20 is the time that we decide we're going to start today. So we are right on time. We're never late. As you can see, we got an actual second face in the box today. It's not just me. All right, it's not just me, and it's not just the idea of my co-host Mike Debate. I know. In theory, he exists, but I am still not convinced because the videos that he has posted, those could easily be manipulated. And I'm just going to throw that out there and let you guys think about it, chew on that a little bit for yourself. But without further ado, I will bring in the man of mystery himself, Mr. Mike Debate. Mike, what's up, man?
La, la, la. Look, but I'm going to steal a quote from Kaiser Soze. The greatest trick the devil ever invented was convincing the world he didn't exist. So, I'm saying that on Good Friday. That's one.
Yeah, I was going to say you're
you're on a
roll.
That goes to show you where my head is. But happy Friday, everybody.
Yes, Good Friday indeed. Mike, I didn't know you were so devoted to that devil himself, but maybe that's you. Maybe that's you.
I
don't
just
know.
like the quote.
Okay. All right. That works. But of course, as you can see on camera, we have Kyle Sender joining us. Very company man. That's why I like him. He's got the full press coverage shirt on, as do I. Mike, I don't think he does. I don't know if he has anything on, to be honest with you. So try to get that image out of your head. Oh,
and he's gone.
Yeah, I told you it was bad. It was so bad that the Restream dropped him from the program. I think they were worried he was actually going to go on camera, and that was a problem. So, no, obviously it's Friday, so we're here. We're going to close out the week, have a little fun, talking some football because, well, since the last time we had Kyle on, there's been a lot of things happening in the world of the NFL. There's free agency happened. Well, essentially that's it. And, there's been some trades and all that stuff and some new league standards, i.e. a 17-game season. So let's start right there because Mike and I just talked about this yesterday. So I want to ask you, what are your thoughts on the 17-game season? Do you like it, love it? Are you indifferent? Does it really matter? And I mean, hate it. Do you hate it?
I don't mind it yet. The truth is, we just don't have enough details. What's the actual schedule going to look like? What on a week-to-week basis? So I'm reserving judgment until we actually find out some information. We know there's 17 regular season games. We don't know how it's distributed. So I don't know yet.
No, it's a fair question. I mean, we these teams are learning who they're going to face. Now obviously that there is a 17th game, and it'll work essentially like the rotational divisional schedule. Anyways, it's just a different division, and it just corresponds with the team that finishes in the same spot as you in the ranking. We got Mike back though. Oh, go ahead, Kyle. You look like you're.
I was hoping for Mike. I was anticipating Mike would return. But there is one thing that could be interesting if the team, so the corresponding conference ranking team, if you happen to play that division that year, you might end up playing the same out of conference opponent twice in a season. That could be interesting if that ever happens. I don't know if that's scheduled to happen this year.
I think.
Come
back. Yep.
Because I would assume they're not going to change the schedule for that. There's no provision set that if that happens, they're going to change something. If that just lines up, it's going to happen. So
yeah, maybe
that's the one takeaway I have apparently.
Yeah, I did. Well, I didn't. Honestly, I never even thought about that because that'd be kind of cool. It'd be kind of like playing your division, though. It would just be an added divisional game.
But that could theoretically have both of the same team could host.
Hold on a second. Mike, are you horribly delayed right now? Because I feel like you're answering questions that we asked 30 seconds ago. I'm going to go with yes. I'm going to go with yes.
We've had to deal with this before in an episode. You and I, and not of this, but yeah.
No, yeah, it's kind of weird. I blame Mike's internet on this one, but it's okay. I got plenty of sound bites that I can kind of piece together his thoughts by just his prior sayings that he said on this. But look, I'm in the same boat. It's like, look, I'm indifferent, when it comes to the schedule. It's like, look, it's the first time it's changed since 1978. What's the point of it? Well, it's to make more money. Yeah, that's it. I mean, that's all it is. I mean, I don't want to hear about, more playoff teams, more parity. No, it's all about making more money. That's all it is. And look, if it means that we get a little bit more football, so yeah, I guess I can buy into that. You know what I mean? I can live with that. That's not a problem. But I just don't really see the huge point of it. And I feel like this is just a pit stop to 18. You know what I mean? It just, to me, it's a pit stop to 18, and that's where it's going to settle on for a while. So
CFL's made 18 work. 2 preseason games, 18 regular season games. That's how they've been going for so long. So yeah, I wouldn't be shocked if the NFL does go in that direction.
No, and that's true. And again, I mean, it's motivated certainly by money. And I'm not too again, the CFL, it works for the CFL because, like you said, it's been like that for a while. 16 games for the NFL has been like this for a while. So it's kind of like a, what are we going to do here? Are we going to force anything?
With parity, I think it would actually create less parity because the with more games, the better teams will start to separate themselves. So I think I would, if we're talking strictly parity, I think that maybe less. I would lean on it does less for parity, but the 7th playoff team in each conference does more to add that. So
yeah, and look, I don't think it's going to have any sort of, and I brought this up the other day, I don't think it's going to have any sort of drastic impact on the records. I mean, everyone's concerned about records, and you're going to see some fall, but again, you're kind of, the game, especially offensively, you're kind of leaning towards that anyways, regardless of a 17th game. So, it's not that big of a deal. Plus, like I said the other day, just because you add another game doesn't mean someone's going to go out and break Randy Moss's 23 touchdown record. Like, no one's like just a game away from breaking that. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, we're probably going to see someone break the yardage mark. Yeah, but that would have probably happened anyways because, well, as offenses open up and you still have a bunch of teams out there that are bad, they're going to accumulate yards because, hey, me, I think 5,000 yard seasons are very overrated and generally mean that you're not having that much success. It's just an accumulation of yards. So that was going to happen anyways. You're throwing a 17th game. It probably just speeds it up a little bit. More players are going to throw higher volume numbers and maybe you adjust that. What's a detrimental amount of yards to throw? Where do you, go over the top when it comes to that? And by that, I mean, at a certain point, as good as you are, you could be the best offensive team in the world. There's just not enough time in a football game to score more. You know what I mean? Like, they changed the rules. They changed, how, that it's a little bit easier for the offense, but they didn't add more time to a game. So, like, there's a certain point where you can only gain so much before it becomes a little bit counterproductive. You know what I'm saying? Because, like, if I don't want to go on a rant, but, if you're focusing on adding yards, going for big plays, naturally you're going to miss a few. So that's going to have a negative impact, so on and so forth. Anyways, that, in my opinion, is why there's a lot of players out there that have thrown for 5,000 yards that have played on teams that are sub 500 and not that good because, well, throwing for 5,000 yards isn't that necessary. But anyways, it's going to happen. Some of these records are going to fall. Maybe someone throws more than 55 touchdowns. I don't know. Even that's kind of, whatever. I mean, Aaron Rodgers threw 48 last year. I don't think that's a norm. That's kind of like a outlier a little bit. And then I think most people are going to stick around 40. Maybe you get the mid 40s. Maybe you'll have every once in a while someone break 50. But, I don't know. I just don't think one extra game is going to have that great of impact.
Yeah, I think more people will tune in for that game than week 4 of the preseason. So I totally get the money aspect. It makes sense for that. I wish the NFL wouldn't justify it any other way. Just say, we want to make more money. And I mean, you could maybe, with everything that's happened pandemic-wise and the cap going down, you could actually just make that argument without it seeming bad or seeming greedy. We lost money last year. We need to make it back somehow. This is how we're going to do it. Like, just come out and say that because we know that's what it's all about.
No, of course. And I don't think anyone, if anyone sits there and tries to convince you otherwise, that's, yeah, exactly. Like,
be genuine and honest, which is what I want to rant about whenever you let me to.
Well, we'll get to that. Don't worry. Because, I mean, there's we're kind of at the. I would say we're probably in the second wave of free agency at this point. That initial rush usually lasts a couple weeks, and you see a lot of big deals go out right away. But we're kind of in that period now where we're waiting more so for what's going to happen in the draft, because teams are hesitant. Okay, what can we do to help our draft stock, or what can we do to help our team through the draft? And you're not going to make any sort of reactionary free agency move. So going back to basically start, since we haven't had you on here since then, what really stood out to you in free agency, and kind of really what teams positively or negatively really stood out?
I like Washington, and Fitzpatrick is an upgraded quarterback from what they had last year. I don't think it's a massive upgrade, but I like a lot of the other moves they made. Bringing in Curtis Samuel, giving a legit wide receiver threat opposite Terry McLaurin, I think will absolutely help that offense drive altogether. It'll open things up for Logan Thomas and Antonio Gibson. So everyone will benefit from the fact that Curtis Samuel's coming to draw away coverage. And certainly McLaurin will benefit, and Samuel will benefit from having McLaurin. Like that's a good relationship, and I think that it was worth paying him that. I also like the a player that, it's funny, Jesse Hall, one of the writers at Full Press Coverage Packers, he wrote a list of 5 free agents he thought the Packers could feasibly get, and his top 2 were Curtis Samuel and William Jackson, and Washington got both of them, so Washington must have been listening to Jesse. So I liked a lot of the moves they made to shore up both the offense and the defense and fill a lot of very specific needs. I also really like what Arizona did, trading for Rodney Hudson. I know it's not a free agent signing, but helping out, I think, an important part of that offensive line that they've shored up. We'll see if Josh Jones, their 3rd round pick last year, if he starts entering the rotation. Still think maybe the tackles, that might be a bit of an issue here, but Kyler Murray is also a different quarterback from most, so maybe tackle play isn't as important as interior play. So I think Rodney Hudson's going to make a huge impact on that team.
Real quick, Mike, are you with us? Are you live? Oh my God, I think it is. Do you hear Kyle?
One comment about the devil and my whole system shuts down. Let that be a lesson to you folks. Do not tempt fate, especially on Good Friday.
Yes, well, I mean, hey, that's on you, my friend. I would think you would know better than to tempt fate in that situation. We were just talking some free agency. Obviously, you kind of jumped in at the tail end of that. We started by going back to the 17-game schedule talk that we had yesterday. But I was trying to get Kyle's opinion on what he thinks about free agency, because you and I have talked about it, Mike, and he brought up Washington, which again I like what Washington's done. In fact, I like what Washington and the Giants have done when it comes to improving their team. Because look, I think Philadelphia is a S show. Dallas is Dallas. I mean, they could, whatever they do, I will never believe that they will actually follow through and be a championship team until they do it. It's kind of like the Houston Texans, and we're not even going to, well, we might talk about the Texans, but the Texans are an absolute mess of a team right now, in a lot of aspects. I'm not, this isn't a judgment on Nick Caserio, because I do think that there's time to have this played out, but they got to get through this rough patch right now, which is rough in many, many ways. But obviously, I like what the Patriots have done. I like what the Bucs have done, bringing back their free agents. I didn't expect that to happen. I thought at least 2 of them were going to be outpriced and go elsewhere. I mean, that's just kind of the nature of just how this league works, especially when you win and are successful. Your players get paydays elsewhere. I mean, it's the economy of the NFL. I think, again, I mean, we're not going to sit here and say that they won free agency, therefore they're going to win in the actual NFL. I'm talking about the Bucs, the football team, the Patriots. But I really do think that these teams improved themselves. And specifically about the Bucs, I think they were getting really good at the end of the season. And I said this before, if they had to win 8 games in the playoffs to win a Super Bowl, I would say there's a good chance they do it, because just the way they were playing, they had luck on their side, in terms of sports luck, not this, luck as people say it in terms of Brady, whereas, one thing happens and it leads to 9 Super Bowls. That type of ridiculous luck conversation. I'm talking just normal luck. I mean, if you win a championship in any sport, there's some lucky moments involved. There always is. And I think the Bucs enjoyed some of that, but they were getting good at the end of the season. They finally started to gel. So I do think they're better next year because of bringing back their own free agents. I think the Patriots are better. Quarterback is a huge question mark. Football team, I like saying that, so I'm going to keep saying it. They've gotten better. Are they the best team in the NFC East? I think so. But the Giants, I don't think, are that far behind. And I think it's going to make for an interesting season. Or they're all going to finish 8 and 9.
I don't think Dallas is that far off either because they have very clearly the best quarterback by a wide margin. So
if he's healthy.
All accounts are
Yeah, but all accounts, but he hasn't been on the football field.
I'll take 80% Dak Prescott over 100% Daniel Jones, Jalen Hurts, or Ryan Fitzpatrick for sure.
No, so I'm not arguing. I just think it's a little. I don't think you can just assume that he's going to come back and just be the same because not only did he shattered his leg. And not only that, you have to build up the strength, but you have to build up confidence too. It's a huge mental hurdle to get over, just getting out there on the football field. And we saw how long it took Alex Smith to do that. And now again, apples and 2 different types of apples. I'm not going to say apples and oranges because it's not that far off a comparison, but like Granny Smith and a big red apple,
Well, Granny in terms of age, like that's a massive difference in age too. Like that's
but
I don't know. I'm still pretty confident Dax, even if he's again not 100%, he'll still be far better than any other quarterback in that division.
A shattered leg is a shattered leg. I don't care how old you are.
Yeah,
like that's not going to change. Like I said, that you're going to have to kind of get over these mental hurdles, and I don't think Dallas is getting any better. Their offensive line a few years ago was arguably the best in the league. It's not that now. It's just kind of overpaid and mediocre. I haven't seen them do much defensively to make their team better. I don't, what I mean? They weren't great last year. So unless they, the players that they have now, all of a sudden, their Madden score goes up a little bit. I just don't see that happening. So to me, I look at Dallas, I'm like, it's kind of a bad team. And that's assuming if Dak comes back healthy. If Dak's not 100% or if it takes him 8 weeks to really start to settle in, this could be a team that's looking at 4 or 5 wins, maybe 6 wins. So I'm not that confident in Dallas.
They don't have Andy Dalton to rely on. So yeah.
Yeah. And I don't know. That just sounds funny to me. They don't have Andy Dalton to rely on.
Although
that's Chicago.
Mentioning Andy Dalton, I think Washington really messed up because Fitzpatrick, okay, he's had good stretches of his career, but there's no way you can tell me that Ryan Fitzpatrick is a better quarterback than Andy Dalton. Not by any stretch of the imaginations. I think Dalton is, the clutch performances, not showing up in the playoffs, I think has proven far more in his career than Fitzpatrick. And if those two both made the same amount of money, why couldn't Washington fork up an extra 5, heck, maybe 2-3 million to get Dalton? Mm-hmm. I think that might be a massive mistake because is Ryan Fitzpatrick really the guy that's going to bring you to the playoffs? Because he's never done it before in his career. So, again, better than what they had last year, but just barely. And I guess the same thing you could say for Chicago, right? Dalton's better than Trubisky and Foles, but how much of an improvement? Enough to make a difference? I think Washington was in a better position to actually compete for their division, so needed Dalton more than Fitzpatrick. So that's just my thing, too. I think Washington could have done better as well.
No, I agree. Everything you say about Ryan Fitzpatrick, I agree. That's one of the reasons why I didn't want the Patriots to go out and sign him, because to me, we know what he is. He's a guy who has some nice moments, but for the most part, he's a mediocre quarterback. And I don't see, I think he's better than what the football team has. But I like the strength of their collective. I like their coaching. I like the players they have on their team. So to me, making a move to Ryan Fitzpatrick, makes them, in my opinion, probably the best team in the division. But that's kind of the ceiling you have with Ryan Fitzpatrick. You might be the best team in the division in a year that other teams might have down years, but you have Ryan Fitzpatrick, so he's going to make some plays for you, but he's also going to make some terrible mistakes, and he might lose a game or two for you. And that's kind of the thing that people forget about Ryan Fitzpatrick. I mean, he's great. He's great for T-shirts. He wears glasses. He's got a beard. He's played on 67 teams. That's it.
There's a reason for that.
Yeah, we list all those things before we get to his play because, well, those are the most impressive things about him. And I don't mean to sit here just rail on Ryan Fitzpatrick. This isn't I'm going to, just tear him a new one today. No, it's just, I think people have this idea about Ryan Fitzpatrick that is very inflated based on a few very great moments. But for the most part, it's a whole bunch of mediocrity. And kind of to your point, if I'm going to have to choose between mediocrity, I might actually choose the mediocre Andy Dalton because, again, I think his ceiling is a little bit higher. He brought the Bengals to the playoffs, 5 times?
Yeah, I think he missed one of those times with injury, so he didn't play in the 5th one. But yeah,
right,
I think, right. But they were in the playoffs because of him. Right. I don't know who was it. It was AJ McCarron. It wasn't the reason that team won that division that year. That's for sure. Even if he was the one that played in the playoff game. So.
Yeah, exactly. So, I'm kind of weighted there. I do think it makes Washington better relative to what they were and relative to what's in the division. But that's, like I said, that's not to say like that's just not over expecting something from the Giants. Like I'm taking a cautious approach with the Giants, although they could really surprise next year and be one of the better teams. So.
8 and 9 might win the division. So if that's the case, Patrick might have a chance at that point. But
you never know. 8 and 9. Got to get used to saying that. I don't know.
Or 8 and 1 maybe. Go fully 500 with a tie in there.
It is the NFC East. They tend to get at least like one tie in every year, right?
Yeah, maybe it'll be an interdition game. They both get it.
Hey, there you go. There you go. Maybe Dallas will just have 18 or 17 ties.
Wow.
Talk about mediocre, but anyways, speaking of mediocre, I'm sorry, I can't even do that. I was going to say, Mike, are you still there?
I knew that was
mediocre internet connection.
Yeah, I was going to say mediocre internet for sure.
Yeah, not host.
I knew it was coming. Look, I completely agree with everything that you guys were saying, especially with the Washington football team. Ian, I really agree with you on the Giants. I think that one thing that a lot of people are forgetting is the Joe Judge factor. And here we go. Everybody's going to roll their eyes and say, oh, yeah, here we go, pumping the tires of a New England Patriots guy. I've talked to people that are close to the Giants organization who tell me that the players have bought into Joe Judge, his system, his philosophy, the way they never even came close to doing under guys like Ben McAdoo, under someone like Pat Shurmur. Obviously, McAdoo was definitely not a fit. Shurmur maybe a little bit more, but Joe Judge has a way of being able to get the maximum output out of guys. And with the additions that they've made, both on offense, on defense, Daniel Jones coming into his own a little bit, that is going to be a team to watch. I do agree that Washington is probably still the best team in that division. I also agree with Kyle. When it comes to the Dallas Cowboys, they're definitely in the driver's seat if Dak Prescott is fully healthy, because there's no question about it. He is by far the best quarterback in that division by a long stretch. One team that I don't think is getting enough looks this year, and that's probably due to the uncertainty at quarterback, is the Indianapolis Colts. Bringing in a guy like Carson Wentz now gives them an opportunity to have that young quarterback that can advance them into, maybe contention, not only in the division, but maybe in the AFC. That's another huge wild card. Is Carson going to play with the confidence that we saw him play with early on in Philadelphia that made him considered one of the great quarterbacks in the league? Now, he hasn't played like that in a few years. Injury's been a big factor, but there's also been a shaking of his confidence. Does he come into Indianapolis with a strong supporting cast around him and 2 signings that I think went very much under the radar that can really pay dividends for the Indianapolis Colts are bringing back guys like Marlon Mack and bringing back someone like T.Y. Hilton. These guys have experience in that system. They know how to win. They know how to bring guys along. So having that continuity in that type of offense is going to be a big factor for Carson Wentz. I'm going to have a sharp eye on Indy this year because I like the way their defense is constituted. I like the additions and the retentions that they've made on offense. That could be an interesting team and an intriguing team in the AFC. But obviously, both my sharp eyes are on the New England Patriots, without any question. And the moves that they've made have been tremendous. They filled a ton of holes that they had in that roster last year.
Look, and here I am. I put up a question on the screen. Who's the best team in the NFC East? And Mike talks about the AFC. Come on, Mike. Stay on topic. stay on topic. I gotta whip you into shape here.
Well, I haven't had a chance to get in here for a while. The devil kicked me out of the room, so I got to get all of that out of my system. But I did mention Washington. I did mention
briefly. By the way, Washington has a football team, anyways.
Team in the NFC East. I also think that Dallas can be if they have the proper quarterback play from Dak Prescott. And again, my wild card in this division right now is the New York Giants. I don't think they're going to win the division, but this is a team that can make a push for the playoffs if all the pieces fall into place.
Yeah, and well, I mean, you did, again, bring up a former member of the NFC East in Carson Wentz, but that's one of the teams that we haven't talked about is the Eagles. I really just don't know what to make of the Eagles. I think they're terribly dysfunctional right now. I don't think this is a one off-season fix where you get rid of a few guys, reshape the roster a little bit, and move forward. I think this might take a season or two for them to, with a lot of moves that have to be made in order for them to get back to being a competitive team. I see them as clearly the worst team in the division. Am I wrong? I mean, even at their best, let's put it that way. Even if they overachieve, I still think that they're the worst team in the division.
No, you're absolutely right. And before I step on Kyle's toes, I'm going to let him go in. Technically, me bringing up Carson Wentz is a tie-in to the NFC East because he did play there for a little while. So
yeah, well, that doesn't count, Mike. No.
His coach in Indianapolis coached him in Philly too.
Yeah, no, that's
Kyle gets it.
No, both of you are. I'm about to kick both of you off and just talk myself here. No, that doesn't count, Mike.
Mike and Kyle. One's Monday morning.
I don't know that Jalen Hurts is that different from Daniel Jones. I think they're both young quarterbacks that have very intriguing athleticism and very good intangible things. But is the tangibility there? Are they really leaders of men? Are these really field generals that can go out? And I think both of them have to prove it this year. I could see both the Eagles and Giants moving on and going for different quarterback options next year if either of those players fail them. So maybe it's a little easier to do for the Eagles. He didn't spend a 6th overall pick on Daniel Jones. But like if Daniel Jones really isn't developing now that he's got Kenny Golladay, the best receiver he's ever thrown to, I would think. Sterling Shepard's really good too. But the way they've used Sterling Shepard also hasn't been optimal. Kenny Golladay will allow Shepard to play almost exclusively in the slot, which I think will really help that offense. The offensive line has been adding pieces. They'll gel together. So this is a real big prove-it year for Daniel Jones, I think. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, no, I don't necessarily disagree. I think the Giants in general have a better roster. And part of the reason, Kenny Golladay, that's a big ad. I mean, obviously, you go down the list. I just think they have a better roster.
The secondary is so much better than the Giants. That's the real because the front seven for the Eagles is actually pretty decent. Like I think that's fine. Part of their team. That's not the glaring need. I think the secondary is absolutely awful. Same thing with the Cowboys, though. So this is going to be another tightly contested division against a bunch of teams that probably don't deserve to be in the playoffs anyway.
Yeah, and well, I mean, again, I don't think this is going to be as much of a joke as it was in years past. I do think that, again, the Giants are legitimately going to be good. I think, the football team's going to be pretty good. They started it. I mean, their defense last year was really starting to gel. And you talk about a front seven. Well, they got a front seven, and they got a guy who loves to coach those type of teams. So, I'd be interested to see how that ultimately plays out. You know what I was thinking about? We only got about 10 minutes here, so I'm going to completely shift topics here. So naturally, I know Mike's going to bring up Cobra Kai, but this November, I know we're getting a little ahead of ourselves. This November will be the 20-year anniversary of the premiere of 24. 20 years. 20 years, guys. I know I only bring this up because both of you guys are obsessed with the show as I am, so it seemed appropriate. And with only 10 minutes left, it's a good way to close it out. Shocking, yes? No? November 2001.
Yeah. Geez, really? That's, yeah. Yeah, thanks for that.
You want to talk about feeling old?
Could Dan Orlovsky be a 24 villain? I wonder.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. I forgot about that.
Several times. I mean, my birthday is on the 24th, so naturally you see that number come up, and you're ready to go. And it was a show that I knew I wanted to watch from inception, and I'm so glad that I did. And it was it was a hell of a ride going through that. It is one of our favorite shows. I know we've dedicated shows here on FBC Radio Live directly to that, whether it be the 24 villain draft or just talking about the greatest seasons. And it really has been. It's given us an awful lot of material, but it's also given us an awful lot of entertainment. And Ian, I know you and I both watched that the same way back in the day. You had to shut the door. You had to completely block yourself off from all other things going on around you and just completely focus on what Jack Bauer was dealing with in that given hour of that given day that you were watching. And unreal. It was far ahead of its time. They weren't doing anything like that at the time with the real-time concept, and they really honed it in. Especially that first season was just unbelievable with the detail that they really put out to show that this was really possible within a day time frame.
Well, the funny thing was, it was almost like in its time. Part of the reason why it got delayed was because of obviously September 11th and the whole idea of the
episode 1 ends with a plane crash.
Yeah. So, well, that actually I want to, because I do want to give Kyle a chance, because I know he was chomping at the bit here, and we'll bring it back here. 24 villains, Dan Orlovsky. You have the floor, my friend, because I know you have a bone to pick. It seems like you have a bone to pick.
You know what? We talked about so many great villains on that villain draft. He can't hold a candle to any of them. He's not that useful. So here's the thing with Dan Orlovsky. Draft expert. I'm going to evaluate quarterbacks. Do you really trust Dan Orlovsky to evaluate quarterbacks? And I'll talk quickly about his playing career, because it was very quick. He started 12 games in his career. He's 2-10 as a starter. The most he ever played was when the Lions went 0-16. So Dan Orlovsky, to me, I don't trust his opinion in terms of what makes quarterback play, because he, in his career, proved that he didn't know. Yeah. So, just because he played quarterback in the NFL doesn't make him a quarterback expert when it comes to drafting. So, just because he says something doesn't make it true. And I think this is another example of it. So, he was on the Pat McAfee show.
Yeah.
And
go ahead. Sorry.
He was asked about, Justin Fields and what NFL teams are saying about his work ethic. And apparently, a team or two thinks that they're questioning his work ethic. Not the 30 other NFL teams that clearly aren't questioning his work ethic because they know he's a hard worker. But no mention of that. But I'm going to focus on those two teams that are talking about the questioning his work ethic, even though they haven't actually met him or worked with him and have no really idea what they're even talking about. So instead, he's going to post that and then get criticism for it, and then think, oh no, I'm getting criticized. I should actually do the research and go to talk to the Ohio State coaches. Then he backpedals, admits that he didn't do the research properly in the first place. The problem is, this isn't just not researching. It matters. Unfortunately, the powers that be have made it matter, so that skin color does matter, even though it shouldn't matter at all. Justin Fields is black. And unfortunately, we see this almost every year, especially the black quarterbacks that are really fast and mobile, and everyone suddenly questions their throwing ability, right? We saw it with Lamar Jackson, everyone questioning this kid's work ethic. Why do it? And especially if you're going to admit, Dan Orlovsky, that you didn't properly do the research in the first place, it's either he's a bad journalist and doesn't do his job properly, or he doesn't care about things like racial equality and doesn't care about the type of language he's using, which, to be fair, he's a personality on TV speaking. So the type of language he's using is important. That matters. And if you're not going to take the effort to do that, you don't deserve to be doing that job. So Dan Orlovsky... probably he might even be worse at this than he was as a quarterback, and we know that he was brutal as a quarterback. So, I just have nothing but disrespect for him.
Look, it's the nature of the business now. I mean, there's no accountability for having terrible opinions. Actually, it's not the first time. I saw yesterday that he got kind of called out for something. He made a comparison, and I'm sure Mike saw this about Jimmy G and inability to or he was like slow-footed or something like that, and someone who's familiar with the Patriots obviously was like, well, no, I mean the reason why he got injured was because of both the situations. He was outside. I don't know. I can't remember the exact wording of it, but essentially it was calling him out for kind of doing the same thing. But he's not the only one. I mean, we got people out there all the time that just
the coded language is a real thing, especially for black quarterback. You see it, decision making, intelligence. Like those are always the questions first. Like it's not every case, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
And I know some people are kind of clapping back and like, oh well, the highest paid quarterback in the league is black, and okay, there was a black president doesn't mean there's no racism in all over the world, but certainly in the United States. So I
think about it. It's a it's language that has been ingrained in this fraternity of the NFL for a while. And you still have, and sort of like where we're at now, where it's like you think about the political nature of everything, where you have, although some of the younger political figures don't give me that much hope. So, but you think about there's a generational gap there. So you have guys that have been a part of this league for generations, decades, that grew up, and this was the normal. So now all that speak, all that talk is seeping into what's going on now, and people don't care to correct it. I mean, it's like, whatever, we're just going to say up there. There's so much time in front of the camera. There's so much opportunity to talk that there's enough opportunity to make people forget about the last thing you said. So he'll go out and say something stupid. Nick Wright will go out and say something stupid. 2 weeks later,
just say something else stupid, and everyone will forget about the first
stupid, but not as reactionary. And there you go. Everyone's forgotten about it. But look, no, I think there is a. I'm not going to sit here and say that it's a pointed racial, or it's racially motivated on purpose. Like I said, maybe there's some subconscious, again, talk that again
bias.
Hasn't. Yes, thank you. That just hasn't left yet. I mean, it's going to happen, and it's unfortunate, and we see it all the time. Again, I think it's just. I think in this example, and I think in a lot of examples, it's just poor journalism. I mean, I think a lot of these guys just aren't set to do it because, I think about this. I mean, you're going to go out and have an opinion and not do the research. I mean, that again, to me, that tells me that the principles of journalism, the principles of what you're supposed to do, don't even exist. And we see it all the time. Yeah,
he was a quarterback in the NFL, even if he was a complete failure at it. He still was given this job.
Has nothing to do with a quarterback. I mean, we see it from journalists all the time.
That's true too.
But I also apologize later for the things you say wrong. I mean, it doesn't matter if you're wrong. Who cares if you're wrong? I mean, as long as you're right once, that's all that matters. So, I mean, that's really what it is. So, all right, we're gonna have to say goodbye, guys. So this is great. We're gonna be back on Monday, probably 9 a.m. We're gonna get someone down there to work on Mike's internet and timing when it comes to talking about topics. No, I just like to poke fun with him, but we will be back on Monday, talking about whatever happened over the weekend. Maybe talking about some baseball. There is maybe going to be some baseball played, and we'll see what goes. So, Kyle, let them know where they can find you on Twitter.
So I'm on Twitter at Senra Says, also co-host the Full Press Fantasy Pod at FPC_Fantasy Pod. We're really looking forward to this next episode. We're going to record on Saturday, actually, but it's a particular league type. Also at FPC_Packers, because I do host the Full Press Packers Pod. We just dropped an episode, top 15 all-time quarterbacks. So that was an interesting debate that I know we kind of started in the playoffs, Ian, when you were on the Full Press Packers Pod. So Jesse and I actually did the full rankings, and So for anyone curious to check out those results, definitely there were some massive disagreements, like where we both had John Elway, with big disparity, Otto Graham as well. So there's some interesting debates. There was some perfect synchronicity with certain players, but interesting. I definitely recommend people check that episode out at FPC_Packers, at FPC_Fantasy Pod, and at Senra Says.
Awesome. And Mike, of course, I don't know if he's still there, but he is at MDABATEFPC, and of course, our show at FPC Radio Live, and I'm at IGLEN31. Thanks everyone for tuning in, and we'll talk to you on Monday.